All right, this is the special one. The game, as this video is dropping, is now patching, I hope. Means it's going to be live soon. Means Necrolyte is launch. Out of early access, is now ready to go, which means we get a maybe an extra long. We'll see how long this thing goes. Conversation with Tim Campbell, who is, of course, one of the founders, the leading visionaries behind Frost Giant Studios, behind Stormgate. Tim, I got a lot to ask you about. It's an exciting time, but before we get into that one, I got to assume that the last month, the last 2 months, last bit of time here has been an absolute grind. So how are you doing? How's everyone doing? You excited for Tuesday?
Yeah, hey there. Thanks for having me on. It's great to talk with you again. And yeah, this is a really big moment for us on the team. Exiting early access and launching onto Steam is, one more of those really important beats for us as a studio. We've gone from alpha to beta into early access, now exiting early access. This is a critical moment for us. And so the team has been working really, really hard to make this a special launch. We packed a bunch into it. I'm really excited about it. And so I would say it's equal parts excitement and anxiety as well on my part. With any game developer, launches is kind of the most stressful but also anticipated moment for them. And so yeah, this moment is a big deal, and I'm really excited about Necrolyte releasing.
Gonna be able to sleep Monday night? Or I guess, yeah, Monday
I
night
don't
going into
I
Tuesday?
don't know about that. No, I'll probably be paying attention to all the stuff going on in the community leading up to it. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I will happily lose sleep over it.
Yeah, there we go. So I got a bunch of questions about Necrolyte, but before that, I do have a couple broader ones that I want to go over. And the first one is that this is almost exactly 1 year after early access launch, July 31st, 2024, August 5th, 2025. Just about year zero ended up being 1 year. So I want to take a moment here and look back at that year, that whole early access process, what went well, what didn't go well. How are you conceptualizing this entire early access process?
Oh boy, that's a big question. Yeah,
Yeah.
we knew that we wanted to be in early access for a meaningful amount of time. We
Hmm.
knew that we wanted to not just enter early access, use it as a glorified, testing phase, and then release a month after that or whatever. We wanted to be in early access at least a year. We wanted to really work towards where we felt like we had the core of the game ready for a wider release before exiting early access. And so it's wound up being right there around that year mark, which is pretty neat. Going into early access, I'll tell you that was another big moment for our team. We worked really hard to ship the game into early access, and any game developer will tell you that shipping a game, any game, is hard. That last bit of finalization and stabilization and getting a game released, that is a huge mountain to climb for any team. And so I'm really proud of what we did getting the game out into early access, but I'm more proud of what we have done since then. Our early access has been a really enlightening process for us at Frost Giant. We got a lot of community feedback. I'm super, super grateful for the people who have played our game and participated in the community and let us know their thoughts along the way. And a lot of it was really encouraging. A lot of it was really positive, and we owe the community a lot. And then there was also a big portion of it also that was critical, and it was important critical feedback for us to hear. And launching into early access for us, the whole point was to develop Stormgate transparently with the community, collaboratively with the community, and be able to react to community feedback. And so when faced with criticism at early access for the game not being as polished as people wanted or not being as complete as people wanted, which were all valid criticisms, we either could have doubled down and ignored that feedback and kind of kept marching on our own path, or we could have listened to it and internalized it and really gone back to the grindstone and put the work in to react and respond to that feedback. And that's the direction we committed to doing at early access. We really wanted to embrace what the community was saying to us. We wanted to react to it, and we wanted to dramatically improve the game from early access to the point that we exited early access into Steam. And so for the last year, that's what we've been doing. We've been working hard to increase quality and make Stormgate as great as we can make it.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. I think you all put out a video couple months ago about maybe it was 0.5, maybe it was zero point 0.4 about how far the game has come from early access from 0.0 on to that time, which was I think was like maybe March. And it's impressive to see the game looks totally different. Obviously now it's even more so, Necrolyte even more so. Whenever we get the Celestial art rework, even more so than that. So it is really cool to see this living product continue to develop. Uh, but now, that's talking about early access. Let's talk about the past and moving things. And I do have like 2 questions about the future before we really dive into Necrolyte. And the first one is that yesterday, if you're watching this video when it goes live, tomorrow, as we're recording this, the roadmap, the new one, goes live. And it talks about what's here now. It talks about what's here in the near future, and then what's on the horizon. For those of us that are following the game, how should we conceptualize what near future on the horizon means in kind of like tangible terms?
Yeah, that is that is a really good question, and the roadmap has vexed me
Mhm.
personally for quite a while. It is this delicate dance that we go through to try to inform the community about upcoming plans, but also to not overly commit to specific dates because in development, no path is straight and things shift in the timeline. And if you're very specific about promises, then people can feel let down when things shift. And I understand that. That's human nature, right? And so we have to walk this fine line of like, how can we be as clear as possible without also selling people on a very specific static set of expectations that is inevitably going to change, right? So we have gone through probably like 50 to 75 different
Mhm.
naming suggestions for these categories, right? This might be too perfect, or this might sound too far off, or whatever. Just trying to get it right. And so we
Yeah.
settled on these. I would love to hear thoughts from the community if these are good or not. Effectively, what the first column means, campaign 1, is referring to our impending release. That means this release, Necrolyte. Everything you see in that column is coming on August 5th. That is all ready for players. It's in the queue, and we're preparing to release it. Near future is somewhere in the next 1 to 2 content updates. These are things that are heavily under development. These are things that are near release, but we don't quite know how the finalization phase is going to go. So it's going to be on that fence between either the next 1 or 2. And then on the horizon represents things that we know are coming this year. Not this calendar year, but within the next 12 months of development, these things will land. Some might be landing closer to 3 releases. Some might be landing 4 or 5 releases out. But that is all of the stuff that the underpinnings are in motion, and we're preparing to release in that time frame.
Gotcha. That's actually that's really nice because I think you've changed. It's been near future on the horizon. There have been other terms, I think, in other notes,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's like how do I think about this? Because like if there is something on the horizon, is that I'm really excited about? Am I really excited about that coming in 2 months? Am I excited? Okay, 6 months out. And obviously, as you said, things are going to change. And I have been impressed sometimes when y'all push things out faster than expected. Spoiler alert, Terrain Editor is on that list. We'll talk about that one later because there's some really cool stuff people
Oh
are
my
doing.
goodness. Don't get me started on that. I'm so excited about that. But yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah.
that soon
Don't
enough.
worry. We got that on the list of things to talk about. All I'm saying is James Ferris is awesome. Did a whole interview with him a little bit ago. But
That was
speaking
a great interview.
of, these patches, 1 patch away, 2 patches away, when I talked to Monk a bit ago, and we were talking about, okay, what does it mean to balance the game? Why are we getting so few balance patches? And he said, well, anytime we drop a balance patch, it takes away from future content in early access. And now that we're moving to release, what can we expect from like a balance plan perspective in terms of making sure that we don't have another 0.4.1 where the top 30 in the ladder are infernals and you're like, great, this is fun. I love getting charged to death. How are we gonna? What are those plans?
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of phases, haven't
Yeah,
we? From
yeah,
the
yeah.
dog meta all the way to the top 30 infernals. Yeah, let's just say it's been a learning process for us.
Fair.
And Monk is not wrong.
Yeah.
We have, with a small team, we have a limited number of people on the design team who can implement content. And that means like actually get the nuts and bolts of abilities
Hmm.
and attacks and units working the way that you want. Those also are the people that can adjust those abilities to make balance changes. And so we constantly have this little bit of tug of war of how do we deploy these people's time? Do we have them be tinkering to refine what's already there, or do we have them pushing ahead on new content? And sometimes we've erred a little too much on one side or the other, but we try to walk a fine line.
Hmm.
Now that we are exiting early access and launching into Steam, our ambition, our aspiration is to be touching the game from a balance perspective more often
Okay.
than we have in the past. And so there are some things that we're doing behind the scenes to facilitate our team being able to do it. We're reorganizing some of the catalogs, how our data is structured behind the scenes so that it is easier for designers to move through and make changes pretty rapidly. One of the kind of constraints that we always deal with, though, is by the time we finalize and release a build to the community, there's enough lag time there that we're often only a couple of weeks away from starting the finalization process for the next update. And so that leaves us with a very limited window to actually collect feedback from the community, let the players get like soak for a bit, get
Hmm.
used to the meta, get used to the game, and give us clear feedback, clear enough feedback that we can react to it. And so those windows are the prime time for us to strike for balance changes. If we try to go faster than that, we haven't really gotten mature enough feedback from the community. If we try to go slower than that, then we're not reacting fast enough. And so I think you'll see us going into a phase where, other than like emergency updates and stuff like that, we're trying to get at least one, maybe sometimes two balance updates between major releases so that there are more frequent number changes there for players.
Okay, and I got a philosophical question for you here about that. What is balance to Frost Giant? Right? Because like you can have, oh, we need to be 50-50, and then technically Broodlord Infestor versus Immortal Century was balanced. And then you can have something where it's like 57-43, but it feels okay. And you're like, well, I don't know, we want to go there either because the numbers aren't there. What is balance to Frost Giant?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because you probably would get very different answers from
Yeah.
different people within Frostshine. Monk probably has a very different opinion on this than I do, for example. I don't think that balance is true numerical
Hmm.
equivalency in outcomes. I don't think it's 33%, win rates for each of the factions
Yeah.
across the board. Like, I don't think it's, in the top, 100 or top 50 that there's always a third, a third, a third. What I look for balance is that players always feel like they have viability in a match. And this comes down to a player experience thing. If you feel like you have the tools to win, you don't feel like the game is cheating you from being able to have a shot at victory, then that's the first part of balance. The second part of balance is making sure that we land in a place that generally all of the races are somewhat represented at each skill level. This is not just a problem for the top 50 people on ladder. This is a problem for the bottom, bottom whatever portion, 25, 50% of the ladder too. For each segment you look at, we don't want the early game to be dominated by the Infernals, for example, and not the early game. I mean the lower levels of
Hmm.
MMR to be dominated by Infernals or dominated by a Celestial, for example. So we try to segment out each um, bracket, I guess, of kind of skill level and try to look, and does this feel like a generally acceptable distribution? And as long as we can kind of hit that and players are feeling good about their shots in game, then I think we've landed in a good place with that.
So Tim, I hope you understand here that you've just encouraged anyone who's playing Stormgate to balance wine. Because what that means, if the people are saying, I don't feel like I got a fair chance to win the game, that's the first step of balancing. I think I hope you understand the can of worms that you've
I
just
don't think
unlocked.
we would be making an RTS if there was not balance winning going on there. And trust me, the dev team has plenty of that as well too. So I think it's great that people speak up and help us with this process, because this is clearly an area where getting all of the perspectives from the community and that number of players looking at things, obviously that increases our awareness and
Mhm.
helps us to balance the game better. So this is just one area where I'm so thankful to the community, even for the balance winding, because that does contribute to positive changes.
I'm looking. Tim just said, thank you for balance winding. So, Good luck there, internet.
And send all comments to Monk, please.
Yes. Okay. No, we're good. At Liquid Red. Tweet at Liquid Red. Is that too old of a reference for people watching? I don't know. Anyways, moving on, because there's a whole lot of content coming out in Necrolyte. I want to take a look, or I want to strike first at the campaign, because now there's 12 missions that have come out here. It's a fully complete story, per what you were saying. Full disclosure, I haven't seen any of it. I've been waiting for launch. I have been head down, ignoring everything that I can see outside of like what we got in 0.4. So without giving too much away here, not being super spoilery, what is the first story of the Vanguard about?
So the Ashes of Earth campaign. This is the first campaign of Stormgate. It's centered on the Vanguard, our human faction, and it gives players a view of people experiencing the loss of Earth and fleeing away from the planet as the Infernals invade it, and basically sets you in their shoes as they come back to the world and they experience all of the changes and kind of the apocalypse that has unfolded before them. And this return to Earth is basically what we're showing here. And your point of view playing this campaign is through a set of characters who lived on Earth before the invasion, had to flee, and are now returning to the planet. And so they've experienced trauma, they've experienced loss, and now they're returning to a home that is no longer something that feels like their home. And so it's been a really fun campaign to work on. It's been really fun to revisit Earth in this sort of way and present this apocalyptic vision of it. And I'm excited for players to be able to play all the way through and see the ending of it.
Although what I will say is poor Brazil in particular.
There's a few areas that they drew the short stick, unfortunately. Brazil, Alaska, there's a few others too.
Yeah, and that's not a spoiler, but that's like the first cinematic, so I think I'm fair to say that one. And by the way, if you're watching this and you want like a much deeper dive into the process of making and remaking this campaign, I did a whole interview with Tim and Mickey Nielsen a bit ago. We're gonna put it right there. We're gonna link it in the comments. So if you want some more insight into what it took to make this campaign, that's there. But going back to this campaign, we got 12 missions in. What is your favorite part of the campaign?
So without giving spoilers, I can talk generally. So my favorite part of campaigns is when we can take advantage of this being a campaign mission and introduce something that just wouldn't fly in other modes. Like new custom campaign only units or special powers or things that just wouldn't fly in a competitive environment or whatever else. Something that feels larger than life. We were able to do that in the earlier missions. We introduced infiltrators, which are a special campaign only version of the Graven. We've done a few things. We do a lot more of this sort of thing in the second half of the campaign, which I'm really excited about. We have kind of a new cool infernal unit called the Desolator that comes out. It's kind of like a demon Death Star, so to speak, that you get to see, and a lot of really fun surprises on the gameplay side. We've tried to mix up some of the different missions in terms of environmental hazards and some of the other things that you'll encounter that you wouldn't be able to see on a 1v1 map. I love it when we use the campaign's needs to push the capabilities of our engine and our editor specifically for people, so that then everybody else who can in the community who wants to use our editor can take advantage of the stuff that we implemented for the campaign. And so one of the cool new things that we did for the second half of the campaign is we enabled the support for skyboxes underneath maps. So we could punch through level geometry and make it seem kind of like StarCraft 2, like their space platform levels or whatever, and make it seem like this level's really in the air or it's floating or things along those lines, which really unlocks our ability to make new feeling environments. And I can't wait to see what the community does with it, because there's a lot of different ways to that they could bend it to their will when making interesting maps.
Yeah, there are already some really Short Circuit is a good example. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to all like just the 1v1 custom maps that have been made, but Short Circuit is this like this deep space platform. You can see asteroids going beneath it, and I can't wait to see Matterino go and like add a skybox. And it already looks awesome, but adding a skybox, a burning planet below. Yes, please give that to me.
Yeah, and that to me is like the exciting cycle of a game developer for this type of game in the RTS genre with an editor like this. is we're going to just scratch the surface. When we implement a feature, we're usually implementing it for like 1 or 2 use cases that we need that specific things, and then we put it out there, and then the people in our amazing community just take it and they run with it for sometimes really crazy inspirational ideas, and they just kind of release these things into the game for everyone to play that then inspire us to do more things like those or to springboard off those ideas in the future campaigns. And so it creates this virtuous cycle where we just kind of keep making the game better collaboratively, and that's pretty awesome to see.
Tim, that's spoilers for later in the conversation. No, because I know you have some things that you have in your head that don't worry, we'll get to it. By the way, talking about favorite things, is there a Tim Campbell approved, seal of approved favorite mission of the 12? Like, is there a number?
Oh man, is a number.
Like 12
I
or
have
11 or
played them
whatever.
all. I have played them all to death. I'm so close to this. It's hard. It's hard for me to gauge fun on particular missions, but there are a couple of standouts to me. Yeah, there's how do I talk about them without spoilers?
You can literally
Uh,
just say like 12 and that's it.
I think 11 was a standout for
Okay.
me. There were some really new twists added into 11 by our lead campaign designer who worked on that mission. Some environmental hazards, some changes to the Vanguard tech tree, some really interesting twists that really felt good when I encountered them the first time.
Okay. Mission 11, which actually segues very well into the next question I have for you, which is that Giant Grant Games has been granted, like the notorious RTS campaign guy, has been playing through the campaign ahead of release. I think as of this recording, I think he's got 3 episodes in. So I think he's like through mission 8. Don't quote me on that one. But somewhere there, he's been doing them every 2 days. They'll be out either on release, be done, or like right after release. What's it been like watching someone with such a deep level of experience in RTS campaigns play through yours for the first time?
Well, it's been awesome to see him play through them. I mean, the content he makes is
Hmm.
is entertaining to watch in general. I would say it's been both exciting and terrifying for me to see him play through our content. And I'm grateful to him for doing that. I mean, his brand of humor, his sensibility for RTS games, and his familiarity with RTS campaigns in particular is second to none out there. And so having him be able to share his experiences playing that and sharing it with his community, like that is incredible to see. I watch all of his videos. I saw the earlier one when it had dropped. I can't wait to see the final one when he hits that. And I find myself inevitably taking notes along the way. I'm like, oh, interesting. That's a good point. Oh, maybe we should do that. So the team might be unhappy with me on Monday when I go to them with a list of things because I just watched his latest video. But I encourage anyone who has an interest in RTS campaigns or who is interested in the Ashes of Earth, but might be on the fence about purchasing it or not. Check it out. He does a great job playing through it, and seems to be having a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I'm very grateful to him for doing that.
Yeah. First of all, I'm incredibly jealous of that man's voice. It is,
Oh, me
he
too.
could do the
Me
voice
too.
of God voiceovers for, like coming soon to theaters. I can't do it. But
I I am the type of person who hates to hear his own voice
yeah.
after the fact. If I
Hmm.
ever listen to one of my interviews afterwards, I think, is that really how my voice sounds?
Yeah.
That so I just get this innate cringe, but then I listen to his voice, I'm like, oh wow, I love his voice. I wish I could speak with that voice when I'm going through these interviews as well too. So yeah, everybody who hasn't checked his stuff out, please do watch his
Yeah.
videos. They're a treat.
Second question for you on that, by the way, or comment. How do you thoughts on auxiliary power?
Oh no, I saw those comments. Oh man. Yeah, auxiliary power. That's an interesting one. So I don't know. What do you think the core question was about it? Was it how it held up over 15 years? Is that
That's kind of what I got.
what
Yeah.
the purpose of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we I think intended to say there was that the batteries sorry, the power supplies for the station were pretty much running on fumes at
Hmm.
that point. And the phrase auxiliary power was used. And yeah, watch these videos and read the comments if you want to participate in the great auxiliary power debate of
There
2025.
we go. Radioisotope thermoelectric generators solve all problems.
Exactly.
Nukes, mini nukes, it's fine. We use them on Mars. We use them on rovers. It works great. But moving on. So actually, this does factor into Grant a little bit as well. Grant often plays all of his run throughs on brutal, on hard difficulties. And in general, I'm going out on a limb here and I'm saying I think that I would assume that scaling difficulty in an RTS campaign is a lot harder than other things, because like you have people that are playing it 350 actions a minute. They're spending their money incredibly efficiently. You know, they're doing all of these things. And then you got someone who has never played a game before or never played an RTS before. And it's taken them a while to realize that they should be building units and expanding and doing all of these things. So how have you gone? How do you go about making sure that players of all skill levels find these campaigns fun and engaging and interesting?
Yeah, it's hard, to be perfectly honest, and this is something that we're going to continue
Mhm.
refining even after Necrolyte's launch, based off of community feedback. It's already been very helpful to hear what the majority of people feel, about the difficulty levels. Is this too hard, or is this setting too easy? But it's hard to nail that. What we try to do internally is find a team member who approximately represents the type of player and the skill
Mhm.
level of player for one of these settings, and then have them play it and then try to tune based off of their feedback as well too. And we get plenty of feedback that brutal is too easy or brutal is too hard, and then we have to kind of gauge that feedback based off of how we perceive the skill of that player as well too, and then tune from there. And it's not a precise science by any stretch of the imagination, but what we are generally trying to do is ensure that there is harder difficulty going forward. I think you can expect to see a difficulty jump in the second
Okay.
half of the campaign, and I think looking forward, I'm even hoping to add another difficulty level for the entire campaign above brutal. Because this is not unique to us, this is
Mhm.
not unique to RTS games, but every project that I've been on that has had difficulty levels, the balancing and fine tuning of those to provide a good gameplay experience is hard to do. And there's inevitably somebody who falls in between the cracks or is playing on a level that is not intended for them. So I would suggest, if you are playing the campaign and it's too easy or too hard, just start switching the difficulty level. Don't feel bad about switching that around. We have a variety of levels to play on, and there's no shame in moving them up or down to your heart's content. And for people who are really wanting a hard experience, we hear you. The Try brutal on the second half of the campaign. I think you'll see that jump up a lot, and we'll be trying to give you more support in the future too.
And of course, campaign is also about telling a story, not just being insanely difficult. And speaking about telling the story, one of the ways that you tell a story is not just through the writing and not just through the set placements, but between the people that tell the story themselves, the voices that take us through this. And Frost Giant, for the size of a game you have like an insane VA cast. You got Chris Metzen of StarCraft, Warcraft fame. You got Matt Mercer. I don't think I need to talk about who Matt Mercer is. You have Simu Liu. You got all these other people. How did you get everyone on this? How did you get a cast like this involved in Stormgate?
I don't even know. I certainly never expected to, and I am incredibly grateful to all the voice actors. There's the big names
Mhm.
that you mentioned, but there's also a lot of other people who maybe might be lesser known names, but who are stellar voice actors who voiced games for WoW or Warcraft or StarCraft or other RTS games and other franchises, and they get it. They do such a great job with the characters that they're voicing, and I'm incredibly grateful to them. We, as a small studio, really relied on, uh, in almost all cases, people coming to us, people saying, "Hey, I'm a fan of this type of game. I would like to help participate. What could I do to collaborate with you guys?" And we have been blown away every step of the way just by the amount of grassroots love amongst this community for RTS games, Blizzard style RTSs in particular, and what we're trying to do with Stormgate. And so they've really helped the campaign come to life. And it's been encouraging to us too when the market conditions and the publishers and the word on the street is, oh, RTS is a doom and gloom genre. There's, nobody plays RTS games anymore. The audience has moved on to MOBAs or whatever. And then we constantly have these anecdotal moments where people come out and they say, this was my childhood, man. This shaped me. I loved this. And that goes all the way up to, you know, Simu, who he flew back from I think he was filming an Avengers movie or something. He flew back to the studio and recorded some lines for us. And I mean, come on, his career is taking off like gangbusters. I mean, he's a legitimate star, and he is participating in this game as voice actor because he loves the genre. And that is constantly something that inspires me, inspires the other team members to just kind of keep taking a swing as best we can to make this game great, uh, because it's inspiring to hear from people who love this type of game and want to help Stormgate succeed.
Yeah, and also just happens to be the first Asian man to ever win Stormgate. I think that was the trophy from a couple of years back. That was
Yeah, that was incredible. He came out to the studio,
mhm.
wanted to talk to the developers, see how the game was made. He didn't want to just, let me get in a booth and, kind of say some lines and then get out of there and move on to his next thing. It wasn't kind of a work thing for him. It was legitimately a passion project. He is a surprisingly good RTS player. So let me just leave that there. He is a man of many talents.
So launch party at the Lou Mansion is what I'm hearing. Thank you for your invitation, Tim. I cannot wait to fly out there. But we talk about this story. This is the first Vanguard story here. 12 missions in. You all have been pretty upfront. This is not going to be a box model. This is not going to be a campaign model where you just get campaign. You maybe get like a 30 mission campaign and then wait 5 years and get another campaign. This is a living product that does move forward. And I know there are a lot of people that are interested in the story of the Infernals and the story of the Celestials. So what do you have to say to these people that are like, yeah, I don't really care about the Vanguard story that much? Like, tell me about Castiel. Tell me about Wars and Malok and the Domina and all of these other characters. I'm sure we haven't been introduced yet. Yeah, what do you have to say to that section of the community?
Oh, that section of the community, those are my people.
Okay.
I am a campaign lore nerd. I
Mhm.
want to get into this. I want to see what makes these other races tick. I want to kind of get out from the familiar, away from the familiar, and out into the crazy and different, and
Mhm.
just kind of see some of these mind blowing elements. So I am super eager to bring campaigns for each of these other races to players as soon as we can. We're in the very early stages on the Infernal campaign, and I am so excited about it. When we launched early access, the first version of the Vanguard campaign was not at a great quality level when released. It was technically there, it had the underpinnings, we proved out the capabilities, but it wasn't where we wanted it to be quality wise or content wise. And through early access for the last year, we've gone back. We've rebooted all of it. We've thrown levels away. We've built entirely new things. We changed the storyline, re-recorded all the lines, recast parts. Oh my goodness. We basically built a whole new campaign from scratch for the Vanguard, and the quality level now is night and day from where it was at the start of early access. And that jump, that's the same jump that we're looking to have from the Vanguard campaign to the Infernal campaign. And a lot of that is as the dev team matures with their understanding of the IP, their understanding of the tools and how the technology is built. As our editor gets more and more capable and there's more and more triggers to use and more things that we can do with units, our capabilities expand tremendously. And so we're not looking to kind of wash, rinse, repeat. We've hit this plateau. This is the same quality level we want to do. We're aspiring to really be able to knock people's socks off with the next campaign in a real surprising way with another big increase in quality. And so I'm super excited for that.
Gotcha. So go play the campaign, figure out what makes the Vanguard tick. So when the Infernal campaign, or when we start to get campaign packs coming out for the Infernals or Celestials, I'm not putting words in your mouth here. I don't know what the order of things coming out is, but it'll be that much better, and you'll have all the context, and that's the story. But because this is 12 missions now, more missions in the future, you're in this process where someone's going to go, they're going to finish their campaign, they're a big 1v1 player, and they're like, great. Or they're not great, big 1v1 player. They're a great, big, like single player person. And then all of a sudden they're done with the campaign. they gotta wait a little bit. What have you all done to make sure the game things are replayable, that bring that you have this content that keeps bringing players, or specifically these single player players, back to the game, even when there's not a new campaign for them to play?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's something that is a very common, I'm not going to say problem,
Hmm.
but it's a very common situation for RTS games to encounter, right? And a lot of times you will see a spike of players who
Hmm.
come in to play the campaign and then they drop off and then they'll come back for the next release, the next expansion pack or whatever else. And that's kind of the typical model that campaign players follow. And that's not great for the people who make the game. That's not great for the players themselves because then, they wait a long time for the next campaign. And by then their interest may have changed or they may have forgotten what happened in the first campaign. And so we're trying to do things a little bit differently. So the Infernal campaign, I'm not going to get into talking about
Hmm.
timeline for that, but we are trying to make this and get it released in a good time frame so that it's not something that people have to wait, a really, really long time for. We're already at work on it now, and Necrolyte is not even out yet. It's coming out on August 5th, so you'll be able to see the Vanguard campaign then. But we're also going to continue making some additions to the
Okay.
Vanguard campaign. So we've built into the campaign itself some systems, whether it's the army upgrades or the randomized artifacts that you can research that do change. The artifacts change from playthrough to playthrough, and how you spend your credits. If you spend on them, you may be choosing different army upgrades to match. And so that gives you a little structure to pick different styles on different playthroughs. We've just added Steam achievements. And we also have special pets that are unlockable on Brutal. So for most players who don't play the campaign naturally on Brutal, being able to replay a mission, beat it on Brutal, and get the Steam achievements and unlock pets, that's another fun incentive to play through different missions again. And we also are working on support for co-op in the campaign as well too. And so that's something that's going to launch between now and when the Infernal campaign does. And so somewhere in the middle there, you'll be able to go back through the campaign and play it with friends. And let me tell you, every time I've played a game single player and then I've played a game co-op with friends, that
Oh yeah.
changes the experience so much right there, just through the socialization of being able to play with your buddies and all the wacky things that, of course, they do. And so I think that will add a lot to this experience, especially from the perspective of
Yeah.
replayability.
Let me tell you, Tim, every single time my partner hears me say anything about like specifically campaign coming out or a campaign patch happening like 04, this now, she turns to me and says, "Hey, we got co-op campaign ready yet? Like, I can't wait to play this," because she's not an RTS person. I've been getting her into a bunch of other stuff, but she's not a really big RTS person. But very excited to play the campaign. So, special request, can that be done yesterday? That'd be great. But
I'm working
there we
on
go.
it.
But
We're trying.
talking about these reasons to come back, even if you're not like a big 1v1 player, there is something that you all have added really a lot of content to in this patch. Yes, there was a versus AI system before, but you've added this challenger system now, which to my eyes is like halfway between like a campaign game, a co-op game, 1v1 again, like a bot stomp type of idea. Uh, Kind of somewhere in this ether. It's not quite something I've seen before. Where did specifically this challenger system? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about
Okay.
this. The Challenger system and skirmish mode are probably second to the campaign. They're the area of kind of the project I'm most excited about right now. I go through phases as we're focusing on different things, and right now, being able to dip our toe in the water with the release of our first two challengers, I'm super excited to hear what the community thinks about them. These interestingly came from a Kickstarter stretch goal.
Oh, were they?
We had I'm just going to say, a vague and poorly worded stretch goal that was phrased, I think literally it was 3 words and no extra context. I think it was expanded AI
Yes. Okay.
personalities.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so we looked at that and we looked at each other. We thought, all right, well, we could have worded this a little bit more specifically or better because this could be interpreted a lot of different ways. But what could we do with this that would be really, really fun? And that manifested into our challenger system. And so these challengers are opponents with personalities. They are not just your standard run of the mill easy, medium, hard AI bot, right? They have names, they have personalities. They'll actually have voice lines and taunt
Hmm.
you during the match. And they have special units, special play styles, and special perks that adjust the base factions for them. You could think of them as sub factions that are there unlocked as a challenge for you to overcome, or kind of a puzzle to kind of master a different play style. Some might be booming on the economy side and just kind of vacuum up everything on the map. Others might be super aggressive early game. They will each feature a distinct play style and give you kind of a neat way to play against computers. And so for players who have come from the campaign and beaten the campaign and they're hoping for something else, we're hoping that this is a great mode for them to settle into, because you get to play the versus experience for Stormgate. You get to play with the core factions, but you can do so without the stress of laddering, of playing against human opponents, and in a more interesting way than just playing against an easy bot or a medium bot over and over and over. Because as we expand the roster of these challengers, they're going to provide a wide range of really fun opponents to beat. And my ultimate goal with this mode,
Hmm.
I know we're talking about Necrolyte and our launch scope here, but my ultimate goal is to do something like the General's Challenge from 0 Hour, where we can have a bunch of these challengers that you can play against in order to try to defeat all of them. And so, we're looking to build up this mode over time into something like that.
And because I had a chance to take a look at this a little bit, tiny bit in the dev build, is this something where you can go and play, like load a community made custom map into, or is this just, okay, the Fresh Giant maps, load into that and go from there?
Yeah, right now it's just the
Okay.
Frost Giant maps, but that's just because our release of the map editor is so
Okay.
recent.
Okay.
At this point, at the date of recording this, the only thing that's out there is the restricted terrain
Yeah.
alpha. So we've had that one release. We're about to, in Necrolyte, be expanding it so that whoever wants to use the map editor can use the map editor. Um, but we're going to be investing a lot in community content. And one of the aspects of that will be to allow community maps to be playable in skirmish mode as well, too. So you can, as we unlock more and more of these challengers, you can load up maps. You can make your own maps. You can then play against whatever combination challengers you want on these maps. And I think that's going to be a really fun way to play the game. And what is exciting to me is unlike custom games from the Blizzard games or other things, this is directly tied into our account progression system, which is
Hmm.
also being unveiled in Necrolyte. And so skirmish mode is a fully supported way to play the game, to advance your account, to earn more cosmetic unlockables, and is a truly supported mode for the game. And so I'm excited to see players play this, because I think it strikes that sweet spot where a new player or somebody who is more campaign focused can play the game in a low stress way. But I also think it presents something fun for experienced players to just be able to hop in and have a laugh as they're playing very colorful enemies with very skewed play styles. And so I'm excited to see player feedback
Yeah,
on it.
it's pretty cool from what I've seen. And Tim, you did a great job of teeing me up onto the next section. Except unfortunately for you, I do have one more question that we're sitting here in the campaign 1v1 mode, and that is in the FAQ that was released a bit ago. You said that the game units are done, things are done. Fresh Giant is obviously a live service game. Never things are never properly done. Things are going to continue to be reworked, continue to change. Um, what does it mean for 1v1 and campaign to be complete in the context of this being a live service game?
Yeah, this is actually um, a, a challenge for us to define
Hmm.
internally, or it has been. Given that we're a live service game, given that we expect to be tinkering for years to come, that's our ambition with this. And by tinkering, I'm kind of doing it a disservice. I'm expecting that we're going to be growing and expanding, making major
Hmm.
changes to this game for years to come. And that includes the factions. If you look at Wings of Liberty through the expansions for StarCraft 2, they were adding units each time. The rosters got bigger, and each of those unlocked new strategies for people to play. And that was even in a boxed model. With a live service game, we're hoping to be able to do more of that. We might also be retiring units and subtracting units as we're adding them in order to keep refining these. So, at what point do you draw a line and say, this is done, this is finished, right? Because conceivably it's never going to be finished because you're going to be working on this constantly. And so what we had to do is we had to step back and ask ourselves, um, when would the player experience feel robust enough and full enough to really represent what we're wanting the experience for this mode or these modes to be? For the Ashes of Earth campaign, we wanted to have the whole campaign ready for there. We wanted you to be able to have your upgrades. We wanted you to be able to have briefings and conversations and storylines and be able to have bonus objectives and the credits that you accumulate. We wanted you to have unlockables. But we had a laundry list of things that we wanted to achieve. And we've reached the point where Ashes of Earth has met all of those objectives for us. And so we feel that Ashes of Earth is ready for players to really experience it. It's ready for prime time. And 1v1 is similar. Over the last year, we have tremendously changed our 1v1 mode. We've changed the pacing of combat to speed things up. We've tinkered with creeps too many times probably before ultimately removing them. We've added Stormgates, and now we're starting a tinkering process with neat new Stormgate rewards that we'd like to be releasing and things like that. We've overhauled the look and the feel of two of the factions. We're deep into the Celestials internally. We're at a point where the 1v1 mode is supported by matchmaking. It's supported by, you can play anywhere in the world. It has replays. It has a robust support of features around it that we think really represents the player experience that we want for this. And so with both of these modes, we've been focused on them. And with our Ashes of Earth release into Steam, that's what the focus is on. And so we've tried to be very clear and transparent to players by creating a Sigma Labs kind of section of our UI. We've moved the more unfinished modes into that category. So you can still play them, you can still interact with them, give us feedback. We absolutely want your feedback on those. But we've left skirmish and versus mode and campaign out from Sigma Labs in the main user interface, because those are the modes that we really feel comfortable standing behind. I'm proud of what our team has accomplished, and I think players will really enjoy playing those modes.
Well, I can confirm I have really been enjoying the Stormgate version of Stormgate. That that work. It's a lot of fun. It's been really cool to see that evolve. Even if we have had to ban 7 dragons at 7 minutes. I'm sure that'll get fixed. Pretty sure. Yeah, no, patch notes been live. Yes, that is mostly fixed.
I think that is fixed at this point.
I haven't seen professional games
If
on it
not,
yet. I'm gonna be very impressed if someone gets 2 dragons out at 7
all
minutes.
of your yeah, and if they do, send Monk
Yes,
all of the messages.
there we go.
Please.
But you talked here about how everything has changed, and everything is changing. That also means that these factions, these 1v1 factions, have evolved quite a bit since early access, and part of that is how they play. Part of that is even maybe like the fantasy of how they play. So if someone's coming into Stormgate, they're like, okay, what faction do I play? Do I play Infernal, Celestials, Vanguard? What's your pitch for each faction for someone coming in trying to figure out what faction they want to play in 1v1?
Oh, interesting. What pitch? I don't have it down to like
what's the fantasy? What's the fantasy for each faction right now? Maybe a better way to say that.
But the fantasy for the Vanguard is effectively a high-tech resistance group. They have a lot of transforming and mechanical capabilities, high tech, kind of projected into Earth's future sort of technologies that we're looking at. We're going to actually embrace more and more weird tech as we continue rolling with the campaign, as they start to reverse engineer and incorporate elements that they have encountered from both the Infernals and Celestials. And so you will see their capabilities increase, but where they start at this point is a very advanced resistance group of human fighters. With the Infernals, we have been changing their look and their feel a lot. We've been trying to make them darker. We've been trying to make them more ominous and threatening as your nemesis in the campaign. They are the bad guys for us, and so we are, I think, positioning them as relentless world invaders. They are a conquering race, a conquering species that likes to overwhelm planets, subjugate the inhabitants of those planets, and then absorb them into the infernal host as battle thralls. And this is something that we're going to get into in the next campaign a lot. You'll get to see a lot of those elements firsthand and see how they actually happen. And I can't wait for that. There's some really cool things in store that I'm kind of geeking out. I want to spoil, but I can't right now. And the Celestials are undergoing the most changes right now. We're in the middle of an overhaul for them that for Necrolyte has really been focused on their economy and how their core mechanics function. But they are a very mobile, a very building centric race. They're basically coming from outer space to planets. And so they can beam down their structures. They have a very freeform way of building, and their troops really rely on um, proximity to their structures in different ways in order to get the most out of them. And so they're a really fun race that um, has been the last in line. They're kind of the last one for us to get to for our overhaul, but I think they're going to see the biggest overhaul of any of our races, and I'm really excited for how they're changing. We will also see a significant visual overhaul for them as we're moving forward, but I'm not going to spoil that. I'm going to leave that for Alan to maybe reveal on a future interview with you. But there are some big things ahead for them. But at this point, I'm probably most excited about Celestials for where they're going because there's some really big improvements and surprises in store for players.
All I know is that I really, from seeing how they're changing, I really don't want to base trade a Celestial like ever. Pick up, run away, go somewhere else. It's fine. But I'm also really excited for, if you're watching this now when this goes live, for the Winter Show match that's going to be happening later today. Again, when this goes live for the show match I'm doing on Wednesday, so about 24 hours-ish after the patch goes live, because I have no idea how Celestials are going to play on the new patch. Right, their macro is totally changed. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen because, as you said, it's cool, it's new, it's interesting, and probably less abusive than the previous version of.
And you know what? I have no idea how they're going to play
Yeah.
We play them internally, but how we play them as devs is it's inevitably different from when we release them out into the wild and we see players interact with them. And so I'm actually really looking forward to this show match. I think it's going to be exciting, and watching these players adjust to capabilities that they're not familiar with at this point, I think it's going to be really fascinating. They might do some unexpected things with them. There might be some surprises there, and so I think they'll be fun games to watch.
All I know is I got some studying to do between now and then to make sure I got it all down. But Tim, this has been campaign. This has been 1v1, like 2 of the 3 big tentpole things that are coming out in Necrolyte. And I know it's in Sigma Labs, but in my eyes, the biggest tentpole. If this is a circus, there's all this pulls on the edges that are keeping things up, and then there's the one straight in the center. And now we get to talk to the one that, in my eyes, is the one straight in the center, because the terrain editor, just the terrain editor, not the data editor, not the trigger editor, although if you look at what people are making, I'm not sure you'd believe that. But finally, that's out of closed alpha. Now that's into open alpha. Anyone can go to Sigma Labs, load up maps, make maps, play maps, edit maps, do all those things. And it's insane what the community has been able to create with this early version of things. And, Tim, I think I already know what your answer is, because you came into this interview just chatting with me a little bit. You're like, have you seen this one map people have made? I can't believe they did it. So what is your favorite custom creation that you've seen thus far and that people are hopefully going to be able to get their hands on very soon after Necrolyte drops?
You know what? There's so many that actually want to mention.
Okay.
I don't think Insane actually sells it. I think you're underselling it. I think it is almost unbelievable what the community has done in this short of a time with a tool that's honestly this constrained. Our terrain alpha is an alpha version of one portion of our tool set. The portion that's responsible for painting textures and configuring the physical space, putting some trees down, placing a resource, right? We expected players to use that to build a bunch of 1v1 layouts where they could just make different terrain configurations and play the game. And honestly, there's been a bunch of those maps made by the community, and they're great, right? they have also pushed the boundaries on our rules. There's 8-player maps, there's free-for-all maps of different sizes. There's even a unit tester map that has been incredible to see, where you can spawn in different types of units and actually test them out against each other. But probably the one that I am most impressed with, I was just watching a playtest of earlier today, which is the first MOBA map made for Stormgate, called Stormgate Battle Arena. And yeah, I mean, it was mind-boggling to see how far they have come without sanctioned tools from us to configure abilities and characters and whatever. You have the ability to select between a big cast of characters, and it goes into a MOBA environment with 2 teams fighting each other over lanes with minions and all the stuff that you would expect. And I was blown away. This is without trigger support from us. This is without support for editing abilities or heroes or things along those lines, or gameplay. And it already looked very playable and very fun. And so I would say that's the one I've been blown away by the most. And I am super excited to see them keep working on it and keep growing that, because I think that is something that players are going to love to play.
They added custom UI. I think I was talking to someone. I was talking to James, I think, in the interview. I'm like, hey, thoughts on adding, like, enabling people to do custom UI for, like, observer modes and things. He's like, yeah, that's something we like to support. That'd be great eventually. It's not there yet. And then 65, I think they're on version 65 of the Stormgate Battle Arena this early, but 65 iterations later, they have custom UI on top of everything else. So
Yeah, it's incredible. And we talk a lot about, hey, the community has
mhm.
influenced Stormgate. The community has given us feedback that informed our decisions, or they give us feedback which helps us tune balance numbers. This is an area where we knew from our previous experience that an RTS map editor, if done right, could be an incredible resource for the community to come up with some mind-blowing things. Incredibly important to the success of the games that these editors are released for. And so we knew that. But going into this and actually seeing what the community has done with this has caused us to already really rethink some of our priorities, some of our allocations of resources, to be able to pull different capabilities in faster, because it has it has taken even us by surprise. Even expecting them to put out some awesome things, we have been even more impressed by the things that they came out. And so we've shifted priorities. We have a lot of people working on the map editor and increasing our capabilities going forward. And so you will see us, with each release, we're going to be making improvements in this area. This is not just an editor that we shipped out to the world and we're going to leave it there. This is one of our 4 pillars for the game. This is going to get as much support and love as campaign has, and the campaign has changed a lot over early access. So imagine that same breadth of work going into the editor. And so there are a lot of new things coming down the pipe to make the editor's capabilities be better, to make the editing experience be easier for players, and to improve the map sharing experience, because right now it is a very manual download sort of style, and we are building towards effectively a UGC platform within the game experience, so you can browse and select and vote and find the most popular maps, or the things that are most like this other map that you liked. So we're kind of putting together that framework there to make it easy to distribute and find these maps. And so I can't wait to see players continue running with this. And if you haven't messed around with it, it is surprisingly easy to put basic maps together. So I encourage you, just try it out. Throw a neat layout in there and try your hand in it. And I think you'll be shocked at how fun it is to be able to play something that is your own creation.
Yeah, and I got a full video coming about this tomorrow, showcasing different maps, but importantly, they're showing you how to go and be able to host maps, because the biggest thing about this no longer being, because it wasn't all that closed, you just had to go contact Jex and you'd likely get in. But the really cool thing about this is that with the editor being live now, you can, if you've played a custom map, if you loaded up a custom map that someone hosted, the Stormgate Battle Arena version 72 or wherever it is when you're playing it, you'll be able to host version 72 of that whenever you want. It's in your custom map list. You can go play with friends. You can download it, and there's a kind of a different way to do that. But it's not going to go take updates unless you play on the more updated version of the map. But there already is like effectively a way to pseudo arcade this because you can go and play those maps, which is awesome. And talking about what you're talking about here in terms of eventually having an arcade, whatever, one I think the big questions that's been asked is, well, what's the monetization policy? What's the license look like? How in the world how is Frost Giant going to be really permissive, hopefully, in making this ecosystem work? You've talked a little bit about it with we want to be able to make sure that things are ready to go in terms of there's an arcade, but in broad strokes, I guess, what are your plans to support a robust custom map ecosystem?
Yeah, that is a big
Hmm.
question with a lot of different kind of aspects that we could talk
Okay.
about. But you're correct in the framing of the question. That is absolutely our
Yeah.
intent. We want to have a very creator friendly, creator focused set of terms that allows them to really invest their time and energy into something that is theirs and that hopefully can make them some money at some point. So we at this stage don't have premium
Hmm.
content in UGC. We don't have support for that. We have aspirations at some point to support that for creators so that people could potentially be able to make a living making really high quality content within our editor and releasing it to people. But that's kind of a far off thing. Right now, we're focused on just trying to support creators as much as we can. Part of that is we're trying to strike a good relationship with creators so that we can incorporate UGC maps in our direct releases so that you don't have to go and find maps from the community always wherever you are somewhere else, that we can actually bring community maps into our versus ladder rotation, for example, so that we can run community voting contests around the best community built campaign mission or trigger map or whatever you have. And so we are really kind of approaching this from a perspective of heavy collaboration with the community and trying to as much as possible directly tie community built content directly into the game. And so to support that, we're working on the legal terms and everything that support the editor so that people can build creative content in our engine using our assets, and those are owned by Frost Giant, for example. But they can create storylines, they could create new names of characters, they could create new dynamics, right? That they're trying to do that are theirs. These are not things that Frost Giant would own or would try to take control of. We really want to set creators up to be able to make great creations and then be able to do whatever they want with those creations inside Stormgate or outside Stormgate. And so that really is what we're trying to do. And speaking as somebody who has made maps for most of my career, and speaking as somebody who, having worked through Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne and seen the birth of tower defense maps and MOBA maps and seen all like whole genres spinning out of that game, that is the sort of foundation and rich groundwork we're trying to lay so that players can, who knows what the players are going to build, who knows what new genre might spin out of this, right? We want to give them that capability and that possibility, and so that's what we're working towards.
Speaking of map contests, Frank Sriracha Jr., Algorithm, and myself, we have a map contest that ends. I think it actually just technically ended when this goes live. August 5th is the deadline. It might be in the afternoon on August 5th, but we're going to be doing that with the 1v1 maps, and hopefully we can say, hey, Frost Giant, these 5 maps, add them to ladder now. Thank you. But we already got that going
That would be fantastic.
because,
That's
yeah,
great.
the maps are, I'm super excited. Black Spire is a fantastic map. We got some good games.
Black Spire is, I love that
There's,
one.
I think there's a new map called Emberfrost. It's got like a desert snow theme. Anyways, very excited about this one as a 1v1 guy. Also excited about everything else you talked about, sure, but like custom maps in ladder. Thank you for confirming that. It's very exciting. But I do want to take a second here before we're done to talk about the modes that are a little bit further off, just to give you it doesn't have to be too exhaustive, just a little bit of an update here because co-op, Team Mayhem a little bit before co-op based on the roadmap are coming up soon. What do fans of those modes that just aren't quite in the game yet or frozen right now have to look forward to in the coming patches?
Yeah, this is I'm sure a hot topic for a lot of
Hmm.
players. We have focused on campaign and versus and getting
Yeah.
our map editor ready for a full release going into Necrolyte. But what oftentimes isn't seen because it's not player facing, is how much behind the scenes work is going on towards future content releases. We don't start and finish each release, and we ship a release and then, oh, let's start from scratch on the next one. A lot of times what comes out in releases are things that we've been working on for 2, 3, 4 releases leading up to this. And there is a lot of work going into our Team Mayhem mode right now. What you will see after Necrolyte and after the Ashes of Earth release is us really prioritize our team-based modes. Team Mayhem is the first one up. That is our 3 versus 3 mode that involves heroes that are effectively sub-factions of the factions they bring with them, different emphasis on units and the team composition that you're playing with against the team composition of the opponents really changes the experience up from match to map. And there are map objectives and other fun things to do on there that you don't normally have in a 1v1 setting. Um, this mode is the next one up. We're aiming for hopefully Ornithopter, which is the release after Necrolyte. So we go alphabetically for people who don't know. We use an RTS unit from somewhere in the hallowed legendary releases that have come before. Necrolyte is named after a Warcraft 1 spellcaster. I loved Warcraft 1 and building those roads back in the day. And Ornithopter clearly is from Dune 2. And so Ornithopter is up next. That's our Team Mayhem release. You will see soon after that, we'll be pushing on campaign co-op. We'll be pushing on a relaunch of our 3VE co-op mode. These are all things that are coming out in a specific order because the scaffolding that we're building is foundational and it builds to the next one. And so we have a very clear development cadence. It's not coming later for co-op, for example, because it's lower priority or it's less important to us. It's coming where it is because of the development of the underpinnings builds in a certain way. And so first 3v3, then campaign, then co-op. And the full map editor is mixed in there as well too, with data and trigger editing, so people can truly make mods that are with all of the tools that we have available to us as developers. So a lot of big things coming up that are underway already, and that I can't wait to share more with the community about.
Yeah, quick question for you, because we're talking about going alphabetical and version numbers. N is 14 in the alphabet, which means you have 12 more releases before you run out of letters. Where do we go? Are we talking Greek letters here? Where do we go after we hit Z?
Yeah, we have a chat going internally about that. I don't think we have it settled just yet. We may loop back around. We've talked about, do we go to AA, BB? Do we do things like this?
Aardvark, Boonbong?
I'm not entirely sure. And honestly, some of those letters in there, as we get towards the back portion of the alphabet, there's not a lot of RTS units that start with those letters. So a couple of them, we actually have blanks right now inserted in their name in our naming system. Most of them we have names picked out already, but there's a few blanks that we've been talking about, hey, maybe we should just create a unit that starts with that letter so we can name the milestone that name, because we can't find anything. So as we get closer, if we have a blank, we might go to the community for help with naming those and see if maybe the community can think of things that we can't.
All right, so if you see a random whatever, there's a DC like anti-hero who's just like all consonants, like Trickster, quick or something like that. If we see a unit like that, we know what's happening.
Exactly. Yep. We worked backwards from, we need a milestone name to there's a unit.
Oh, and by the way, talking about Team Mayhem coming up in Ornithopter, we're not going to talk about it more here, but I'd love to do a deep dive on that with you leading up to that release, because
that would be
you got some really cool stuff there from what's publicly available. Not diving into anything private, but publicly available. You got some really cool ideas, and I can't wait to dive into that one a little bit more. But as we dive into, or as we kind of round this out, Stormgate is now out of early access as of watching this video. Previously, the best way to support the game was to follow it on Steam, was to wishlist it on Steam, was to tell your friends about it. Now they're out of early access. What is the best way to support Stormgate?
Well, I think before diving into that, I think this is the right time to just give a note of gratitude at this point. I've mentioned this in other videos, but we would not be at the point that we're at without the community support. This company wouldn't have started without the support for the genre that the community has given over the many, many, many years. And since we've started the support through our prototyping phase, our alpha, our beta, through early access, the we would not be reaching this point if it were not for your support. So I want to say thank you. This is a major, major moment for our team. This is a critical step for us to take, exiting early access and launching onto Steam. And so this is our opportunity to invite players again to come on this next leg of the journey with us. This launch does not mean that we're done. It doesn't mean that it's pencils down or we're moving on to game 2 for the studio or anything like that. We are committed to Stormgate and we are committed to RTS development, and we aspire to continue working on this game and this genre for years and years to come. And we want your voice to be a part of it. So for somebody out there who's wondering how they can support us, there's a lot of different ways. And you know, if you're interested in purchasing the game, if the game looks like something that you're interested in, we've updated our Steam bundle so that there is an option for people to buy that represents all of the gameplay content that's available for now. So if you're the type of person who just wants to buy a game and be done with it, like, that's a great option. Inside the game store, there are other options because Steam limits the number of bundles that we can have outside in Steam itself. So if you just want to play the campaign content, if you're interested in Ashes of Earth and playing through the single player campaign and don't want to pay for anything else beyond that, there is a campaign only bundle inside our game store that you can go log into Stormgate and then purchase inside there. But outside of spending money, there are a lot of ways that directly support our dev team. Um, Everything from, if you like the game, try it out. It's free. You can play all the different modes and see if you like it. If you like it or have been around for a while and have seen the game progress and you're interested in doing it, leaving a review for us is a real big help for us on Steam. You can also do things like engaging with Twitch streamers. You can comment on our videos. You can join Reddit and or our Discord and let us know specifically. There are places where you can give specific feedback. Hop into the map editor and make a map and share it with people and try your hand at it. All of these things are a direct, real, tangible help to us. And they all help us make the game better for you. So I encourage people who might be on the fence or haven't checked out the game, like, please join us on this leg. There's so many different ways that you can engage with the game. You can have fun. You can let us know how to make the game better for you, and we're excited to have everybody on board with this as we launch onto Steam. So thank you for helping and being a part of this.
Well, you know, I can't think of a better way to wrap this interview up. Hopefully within the next hour, if you're watching this live, the game's going live, and then we get to go play the campaign and play 1v1 and go watch the winner's show match happening later today. Go watch my show match happening later this week. Go watch Giant Grant go and play through his entire campaign and whatever else people are doing, because there's a lot of stuff happening. The game, I'm really excited to see where this is going to go. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait to see it become even more fun. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in here and coming along on this journey. If you like more of this, hit the sub button. Follow me on YouTube and go play the game. That's the message. Have a good one, guys. See you next time.